right, welcome everyone. This is Jack Knife TV. I'm gonna go and elaborate a little bit on this speed limiter bill that is being pushed right now, and basically try to make amends or speak to the FMCSA, maybe the general public. Let me get to the nitty-gritty. First of all, this bill, there are lobbyists from the ATA that are actively trying to push this bill. And I find it rather funny that these lobbyists, which is from the ATA, which, are the mega carriers, are pushing this bill for safety. Most of these mega carriers already have their drivers set at 62 mile an hour or 60 mile an hour, maybe 65. And they are countless times are the number one reason for these accidents. Whether that be Swift, Prime, Warner, the list goes on and on. All right. I'm not saying that maybe if you work for those companies that you're part of that or the part of the problem. But the real big nitty gritty, when you get down into it, reason that truckers are now like some of the most unsafest on the road, at least in my opinion, in my last 10, 13 years of driving, it's training. The requirements for training, and maybe even the people themselves that are getting into trucking are part of the problem. This can be a very dangerous job to us and the general public. All right, the giant accidents you've been seeing lately, all the film of trucks and cars piling up in snowstorms, the Colorado incident there a few years ago. These get out in the general public and on TV a lot, and I have a feeling that's kind of why the lobbying for the ATA and stuff is getting such traction it is. But that is not the actual root of the problem. Training is. If you sit here, like I went through Prime about in 2013, I think, or maybe it was 12. I can't even remember. Sure, the training is there to a point, but they're still pushing drivers out. They have driver trainees that may only have a month more experience, 2 months more experience than the actual trainees. It just doesn't calculate to safety, period. That is the major problem. It's not just speeding. In fact, it's probably not even really one of the largest roots of the problem. It's just unattentive, unknowledgeable drivers behind the driver's seat. And even on top of that, there's some people that just cannot drive a large piece of equipment, whether it be a semi-truck, maybe forklifts, excavators, the list goes on. But they still put them out on the road. They still let them do what they do. We've seen the Swift drivers that, they film, an officer pulls up on them, or just any other truck driver. They've been in 3 or 4 accidents just in that day. And I'm not even going to get into the other problem that I'm starting to find in the industry, which is, drugs and alcohol that I've seen get worse and worse. So we're not going to, we're going to push all that to the side and just concentrate on speed limiters, because, the ATA lobbying group is pushing it so hard, and putting money into Congress. Thousands and thousands of dollars are being pushed by this lobbying group. Now, that being said, what I think the FMCSA should do is make an actual stricter training requirement for mega carriers, for states. Maybe, I know it's going to be hard. I know it's going to suck for guys that want to actually come into this career and, make a living. But you have to weigh your options. Do we keep it easy? Or do we just let, it turn into a dumpster fire, which it has been over the years? And we're going to get worse laws than this. And I also find it very funny that we just had a bunch of states come out recently and raise their speed limits on trucks, or that they actually have bills to raise their speed limits on trucks, because we have some states that have different speed limit laws. So what about that, FMCSA? Why are those states doing that? Wouldn't you think if they thought there was a safety issue with that they would, that they would be doing that? Also, most of these senators, I'll have to say, they're chauffeured around. They fly. They aren't on the road every day. They have no idea what's going on out here. Have them drive a car on, let's say, we'll do 81 in Virginia there, like through just before Richmond and all that. Or have them drive a car on I-78 coming up out of Pennsylvania and New Jersey. And we'll see what speed limiters do and what happens when traffic bottlenecks up. It turns into a bloodbath. And I don't necessarily mean that accidents do happen, but there is so much road rage from four-wheelers and other truck drivers fighting each other. It's totally ridiculous. And in fact, I'm surprised there's probably more accidents caused from just that than speeding. Then, like I said, training. It all boils down to training, and whether or not the person behind the wheel is or has the ability to actually control the truck. There's just some people that should not be behind the wheel of an 18-wheeler. I don't care how much training you give them. It's just a matter of fact. And these laws, in my opinion, are going to cause more problems than they're going to fix. You want to pass some laws to make truckers, I guess you could say, per se, safe? How about this? First of all, your ELDs. Your ELDs are basically like a time clock on a game. You got to haul butt to get to the next checkpoint, practically. Your ELDs are causing more drivers to drive faster and more erratic, either to get to their destination, get to their receiver, their shipper, maybe even get off the road, per se, like take their off-duty time. Because some of these companies have such hard regulations on PC, off-duty time. You have guys that'll just literally, when their time gets near, they'll run their time right up to the last minute, and they'll just pull over on the shoulder of the road and sleep right there, because they are that terrified. They view it as something that, if they go over and they put themselves on PC, if they're even allowed to put themselves on PC, they're gonna lose their job, they're gonna go to jail, the list goes on. So right there's a problem. There is a problem with the ELDs. Ride in a day with an actual trucker, not a local guy, an actual over-the-road trucker, and you will see what the ELD basically forces them to do. If I'm tired and I still want to make my load on time, and I got plenty of time, let's say I got 14 hours to make a load that maybe only takes 10 really to do, or 8 or 9, and I'm just so happens I'm tired or sick or whatnot, due to traffic or any other reason, guess what I can't do? I can't pull over and maybe take a 2-hour-long nap, 1-hour nap, anything. Sure, I can do my 8-2 split, but you still can go over your hours for your delivery. You still might not make your delivery. It still has those limitations on you. Maybe if there were more split options, that would probably be better. If we maybe adopted the Canadian hours of service, allowed us to drive our full 14. Maybe even better yet, why don't we get a 16-14? What's wrong with that? Maybe a 24-hour, a 24-hour break instead of a 34-hour break. You know what happens when you're on the road and you take your 34-hour break there, FMCSA? You're stuck in this truck. You're stuck at this truck at a truck stop, which usually, I'll say this is also kind of funny. These truck stops all carry tons and tons of beer and liquor. Right there, I find a problem. Not that I wouldn't want to maybe partake on that, but there's just some people that don't have the ability to partake on that safely, let's just say. I find that kind of funny. I find it kind of funny that we won't just pass hair follicle tests if you're really, keen on drug safety there, FMCSA. Do I find some of the drugs that are maybe on that list to be, antiquated and probably shouldn't be that you probably should be able to at least partake that on your, days off? Yeah, I do. I view that almost the same as drinking. But we're not even going to get off on that. This is just mostly just to show the hypocritical stupidity that is the FMCSA and, these lobbying groups and stuff. You know why ATA is pushing this? Because they want everybody on a level playing field. If maybe not per se, one or two trucks, there's a big difference between speed limiters and stuff. But you start getting into the numbers of like Swift, 5,000 trucks, 20,000 trailers and whatnot. You start getting in these bigger numbers. And just the numbers of trucks out on the road in general. And you have a company that has set their trucks at 62 mile an hour and a company that has their trucks either wide open or set at 70, 75, what the speed limits usually are in most of these states on the highway. And there is an efficiency difference. There just is. You're going to, over the end of the course of a year, that trucking company with the higher speed limit is going to run more freight. It might not be a lot more, depending on the amount of trucks they have, but they will. And right there is a difference between, the mega carriers and, let's say, either smaller fleets or the owner-operator. They want to bring that down. So, in my opinion, I think these speed limiters are a ridiculous idea. They're going to probably cause more problems, more accidents, more frustration, either between the four-wheelers and the truck drivers or the truck drivers. And it's all boils down to actual training and putting people that are able to safely drive these trucks behind the wheel. And we're not doing that. And it's not just truck driver safety or trucking safety, driving a truck. That's that the FMCSA is, giving a blind eye to, because, the ATA and these mega carriers want to just keep popping out drivers. There's a problem with the brokers. In my opinion, there's a problem with the authority, getting your trucking authority. I think it's way too easy. There's a problem with how we look at accidents and judge them, per se, our point system, and how just about anything a trucker does is going to ruin their, basically automatically ruin their driving record or MVR. There are so many problems and laws that are already on the books that the FMCSA ignores or doesn't actually enforce, that makes no sense for them to keep making laws like this. It's almost as bad as they're almost following the same procedures they do with truck driver safety. We're going to actually ignore the real problem and just keep putting new laws out there. So I know this video has kind of been everywhere. I probably should get a script. Really, I would have liked to use my other phone and actually read some actual hard data and maybe call out some of these senators that are actually against it. Supposedly, there's a senator in Texas, Pennsylvania, Colorado, and I think Missouri that are going against this. And there's actually a law, I can't remember the number of the law, that is actually pushing back at these speed limiters and basically going to limit the ability of the FMCSA to even pass laws like this. So, if you can, I'm sure Asia, my or mother trucker Alex, has already made a video about this and beat me way to the punch. But that being said, just do some research, try to get a hold of your congressman, and please do it professionally. Don't curse at them. Don't, you know, it's bad enough we're already in a predicament we're in. Don't make it worse. That being said, it's Jackknife TV. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Hopefully we can stop this bill, and maybe we need to, instead of having more of a defensive approach, maybe we need to take more of an offensive approach. And I don't mean just the OOIDA, because it's funny how weak they've become, per se, and sometimes aren't exactly the best voice. We just need to act more professional with this. We need to come together better. And maybe actually, instead of, you know, I get a lot of this a lot. Whenever I call out anything that's actually a problem in the trucking industry, stay in your lane. Stay in your lane. Don't worry about it. Mind your own business. That, I think, is going to be one thing that is going to destroy this industry as a whole. Not calling out our actual problems and fixing them, and maybe going up to drivers and saying, hey, don't do that. And, you know, taking some responsibility for our actions. That's going to be the other end of this industry, especially for the owner-operator. I'm not saying, you know, throw anybody 100% under the bus, but like I said, there are some people that just should not be out here. Just like there's some people that just shouldn't be contractors, I mean carpenters, and anything else. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you for stopping by, and I'll catch you all later.